Hello, everybody. This is Cyrus Kirkpatrick, and first of all, Merry Christmas. It is December 25th as of beginning this video a few minutes ago, so here we are at Christmas time. My roommate slash landlady is Jewish, and so we don't really celebrate Christmas in this house. Sometimes I'll buy a wreath or something, and it might bug her a little bit, but besides that, there's not much going on this side. But hopefully you are having a great Christmas, and I wish everybody watching this a Merry Christmas or a happy non-denominational winter holiday if you are a politically correct-minded person and you get offended easily. Now, to continue. Tonight I want to talk about life between lives, at least that phrase as it has been presented and has become very, very popular thanks to the books of Michael Newton, the hypnotherapist, as well as Brian Weiss. So people often talk about life between lives. It's entered the common vernacular as a way to describe reincarnation. But what is going on here? So a few videos back I spoke about reincarnation. I talked about what reincarnation likely is, how it really works, how we tend to be a more multi-dimensional than we think. The mistake a lot of authors make, a lot of people make, is they think of reincarnation in three-dimensional terminologies. And so we think about like past life, present life, future life, instead of thinking of it as multi-dimensional, different lives maybe happening at the same time. While I do think time sort of exists, it's also extremely malleable and non-linear. So whatever has happened in the past, in some way, in some timeline, in some dimension, is still happening. So the premise of a past life gets pretty murky. Even though there is a lot of evidence of reincarnation, we're just the ones looking at it in a three-dimensional sense. You can also look at it as omnipresent or simultaneous or concurrent lives. So right away, I think I'm going to have to disagree with like Michael Newton's work in that sense, because he doesn't really encompass that idea too much unless I am mistaken or he has something written about that I haven't seen. But a bigger issue I want to talk about is the idea that we're all inevitably forced to have to reincarnate. Now, this is definitely an area that I think people need to watch out about, because this is not something I've completely bought hook, line, and sinker. But I do take seriously the claims by some people that there may be forces, maybe people, maybe groups, maybe agendas happening on the other side that is encouraging people on this side to reincarnate when they don't have to reincarnate. One example of that could even be a religious group, let's say fundamentalist Buddhists, and they want their like belief system to be made manifest, and so they'll tell people you have to reincarnate, you have no way around it, whereas this is not actually true. So this is something I think people should be careful of. And one reason that I also find the life between lives premise a bit troubling is because I don't think of the afterlife as a life between lives. So people are saying this now and thinking, well, the other side is some small temporary place we go to for, quote, rest and relaxation until we have our next life lined up, and then we go, diving back into somebody's womb, and we come back out again as a baby, and we're doing all this again. But this is a gross simplification. So the afterlife, which is our terminology, the afterlife as we call it, is not some little place that people go to temporarily. It is the omnipresent, all-encompassing multiverse that is endlessly vast and encompasses all possibilities, beginning with probably the simplest of places we might go when we kick the bucket. As I talked about in prior videos, sometimes we die and we wake up in a house, a place that we were attached to in this life that kind of carries on to that side. And so we begin our next adventure, we begin a new life on like the middle astral level, and from there, God knows where else we end up. But the point is, it's so incomprehensibly vast and big, with everything you can think of happening in the multiverse on that side, why then is it necessary that we have to reincarnate? How can a place that is incomprehensibly vast with everything you can think of be a place that's so limited that we have to come back to this world again and again, and that's just a little life between lives, a little cosmic stopover point, and that's it. So something doesn't seem right about this philosophy, and I'm going to have to call BS on it. Now, I'm not saying that that work is not valid, so keep in mind, I do think that there's flaws with this hypnotic regression business because we're dealing with client patient expectation fulfillment. Even I know Newton did a lot of this work before anybody knew who he was, but still, when you're when you're in a state of hypnosis, it's not like people think it is. You're more in control than people think, and the more, I suppose, the more susceptible somebody is to suggestion, the easier it is for them to appear to be in a completely hypnotized state. But in reality, like there's a conscious direction still happening. And if we start dipping into the field of like talk about your past life, it's just as easy for somebody to start using their imagination or tapping into something else. Now, or also attempting to please the hypnotist by making stuff up or doing a kind of fantasy or wish fulfillment. That said, if all of it is accurate, if all of it is true, then these past life memories, a life between life memories, it could be tapping into any element of ourselves existing on different dimensions. So this is why it gets so confusing for people because they say, I read this book by Michael Newton, and between lives I was a fairy orb, swimming around in some parallel dimension. So that must be what the afterlife is like. Well, then somebody's like, well, my friend had a near-death experience and was in an astral city and saw the Beatles perform with all the dead Beatles back. You know, so it's so freaking varied that you can't put your finger on just what the afterlife is, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So again, the issue with some of the pop culture and the New Age books is that people see one account of the afterlife and they start thinking, well, this is how it is for everybody. Again, we're multi-dimensional, which means we can let's imagine ourselves in 8, 9, 10 different places at once. So if we get hypnotized, we might be pulling in memories from any of those 8, 9, 10 different realms that we're existing in simultaneously. So who knows what we're going to tap into. The past lives may also be simultaneous lives, not necessarily in the quote past. They may be happening concurrently. So it's all multidimensional and different than people tend to oversimplify it as. And I appreciate Michael Newton's work because I think it's opened people's minds to the afterlife maybe more than any other book in modern history because his work is so popular. And that's a great thing. But also, I think it's very valuable to take a step back and look at what's really going on from, this is, I guess, my area is I'm an afterlife researcher. So I try to, get down to the crux of the argument, figure out what's really going on. And probably the number one takeaway point is that most of these subjects, we look at it wrong. So we think about it three-dimensionally. We should be thinking about it fourth-dimensionally. I think that was a quote from Back to the Future. And that's the mistake people make. So, there's not one kind of realm. There's not just one life between lives. There's not one past life. It's not really a past life. It's this, concurrent mixture. And if we can understand that, then we're much closer to being able to understand the way reality operates. So, we're on this kind of linear trajectory, but our mind is all over the place. When we go to sleep at night and we have that weird ass lucid dream, it could be our memories being tapped into of any number of parallel lives, past lives, or lives on the astral plane, which is and can be a superior version of our world here on the earth plane. And I think there's reasons to incarnate here on the three-dimensional version of that world due to the limitations and how difficult it is and the challenges, because human souls like challenges. If you think you're gonna cross over and be content just strumming a harp on a cloud forever and ever, or just indulging in all your fantasies and not doing any more work, you are fooling yourself, because every soul desires some kind of meaningful work and challenge. That's how progress happens. It's how we're built. So that's why people come back here, because they want that meaningful work, they want the challenge, and they want the opportunity to develop themselves, grow, and therefore be able to find more joy and contentment everywhere else that they go in all their other lives, because down here is where we get those hard lessons. So that's why we reincarnate. But the final big point I want to make, though, is that no one should be forcing anybody to reincarnate. So if you do happen to die, and not to be too morbid, but you could die tomorrow, you could die next year, you could die, in the far future. I could die tomorrow, I could die next year, I could die in the far future. Whenever it finally happens, if you do encounter anybody, anything, any entity that's telling you that you have to reincarnate, remember the cosmic law of free will. Nobody can make you do anything. What you can say is, okay, you think I should reincarnate, and let's have a discussion. Tell me why you think I should reincarnate, and then I'll consider the possibility, but I'm not doing anything without analyzing it for myself. Because I don't know what agendas are out there. It's not all love and light. Maybe some entities want us reincarnating again and again. And so this is why sometimes we get spirit information saying, then I was forced back into a body. They pushed me back into a body. I went to the astral world for a few weeks, and then I was forced to have to go back and incarnate again. Anything like this, just say no. You don't have to reincarnate unless you want to. And I've had run-ins with entities on that side that definitely like controlling people. So, if maybe you'll encounter a cult, a religious group, some singular entity, or somebody who really does think they have your best interests in mind, but don't let them fool you into doing anything outside of your consent. Well, that's it for this video. If you like this kind of stuff, please hit the subscribe button to help keep this channel going. Without that, I don't know how this will all keep going, so I really need help with that. You can go down and click on Show More on the channel description, so you can check out the books I have: Understanding Life After Death, The Afterlife, and Beyond, AfterlifeTopics.com, the Facebook group, the bi-weekly classes that we do twice a week. You might be missing out on a lot. If there's a lot you want to learn about, every week we have the classes going on. We archive all the classes. Joining makes you a patron of this channel. It's $30 a month. But also, if you join, then you have unlimited access to me. We can talk and you can discuss your journey. I can offer my advice along that path as much as you want. And you can join the awesome classes, and also be able to support this work, because basically I need everybody's support to keep doing this on a part to even sometimes full-time basis, and still be able to eat food. So if you want to join in on all that, you can check out the channel description. I'll see you guys on the next video.